Hi, everybody. This is Lowell with some more thoughts regarding music theory. And we've laid a foundation of what music theory, in my view, is. Essentially, it's rhythm, harmony, and melody. And we're in the discussion of rhythm and what rhythm is. And the last video, we talked about rhythm um, in a larger context. Now I'm going to get a little bit more specific about how rhythm functions in terms of understanding it as a musician and notating it. This video is not going to be so much about notation as it is the concept of how a musician thinks about rhythm. And if you'll imagine a pie, at Thanksgiving dinner, and uh, it's this big circle, and then you have, say eight members of your family that each want to have an exact amount of pie, just like their other family member gets. Nobody gets more or less than the other, so we want everybody to be fair. So, how are we going to take that pie and divide it so that all eight people get a piece of that pie? And so we're going to cut it down the middle. And so and this is just basic fractions, right? And so you have your pie, and then you cut it down the middle, and so you have two halves, and so that's two divisions of the whole. And then you're going to cut. Normally, how I cut the pie at Thanksgiving dinner, if anybody lets me cut the pie, is I'll cut it. I just cut it I just cut it horizontally, and I'm going to cut it the other way. And so we have vertically and horizontally. So now we have four pieces, and so we have the half, or we have the whole cut in half, but then we have both of those halves cut, and so now we have four pieces. So that's a fourth, four divisions of the whole, and so you keep going through that process and cutting, the fourths in half, and so you end up with eight exact same-sized pieces. And so that same process, if you cut the eighth pieces in half, then you have 16th pieces. You cut the 16th pieces in half, you have the 32nd pieces, on and on and on, 64th pieces, and 128th pieces. And so that's the basis of understanding rhythm, of how rhythm is divided and notated. And we'll talk about the notation in the next video. But I wanted to draw a parallel, which most people don't think about, between the Overtone series and rhythm. The Overtone series is something that we all hear in nature around us, but we don't think about it too much. And some of you who are guitar players, some of you who are string players, understand when I say the word harmonics. Whenever you basically touch the string just lightly, and the string ends up dividing itself naturally, just acoustically and naturally, the string divides itself where you touch in that exact node. And so if you touch the string halfway between, let's say the string is here, and you touch it right in the middle, you don't have to put your finger all the way down to the fret or all the way down to the fingerboard, but you just touch it right in the middle, then the string actually naturally divides into an octave. And then if you divide that string in half, or that space in half, then you've basically are dividing it where it's at the fourth, dividing the string in fourths, but you only touch it in one place, but the string actually vibrates with four sections. And so it's a natural acoustic phenomenon. And the reason this works is because the Overtone series is built on a fundamental, and let's say the fundamental is 20 hertz. We've talked about hertz before, but it's vibrations per second. Let's say that that frequency that we're dealing with is 20 hertz. And so the first multiplication of that would be 20 times 1, which is itself, and then the second multiplication, which will be, some people call it the second node, some people call it the first node, but nevertheless, it's the next harmonic node is 20 hertz times 2, which would be 40. And so 20 hertz, the difference between 20 hertz to 40 hertz is an octave. And so that creates your first octave. And then if you have your next note up is going to be 20 times 3, which would be 60, and that'll be your fifth of the, if you're talking harmonically. And then on up, you just, 20 times 4, which is 80, 20 times 5, 20 times 6, 20 times 7, on and on and on and on. And so essentially you're getting divisions inside of the fundamental. And what most people don't understand is that when they're hearing an actual pitch, that all of these other nodes, all of these other sounds and frequencies live inside of that pitch that you're hearing. It's not evident. You're just hearing, as a human, you're just hearing that one pitch, but actually you're hearing all these other pitches inside of that pitch that make it up. And so those are your harmonics. But it's really the same idea with rhythm of dividing the whole note, and you end up getting similar divisions. And what I've taught and have written about fairly extensively is what I call integrated frequency. And so most of musicians, consider two different ideas. You have an idea of pitch, and then you have an idea of rhythm. But I believe that they could be seen all, instead of two different subjects, of actually all the same subject. It's just that frequency is in the area of what we hear, and rhythm is in the area of what we feel. And it goes below our human hearing, but that doesn't mean that it's not the same system. And so it all functions together. So rhythm and frequency, rhythm and pitch are really much more integrated. They're exactly integrated. They're the same system, in my view. And I haven't ever heard anybody theoretically teach it that way. But when we talk about the subject of rhythm, it really is congruent with the subject of the Overtone series and frequency and timbre. And all of these go together in one system. But that's next video. We'll get into how we actually visually notate rhythms and use rhythms for composition, and we'll get more specific into that. But this is a little bit of a secondary overview of the subject.